everybody here has been having a fabulous royal day. The Queen, who sat on this very chair, and Prince Philip have been here in the city and on the Isle of Wight, ready to celebrate the ceremonies to mark the birthplace of Australia 200 years ago. There were 4,000 people in the Guildhall Square earlier today when the party began with a marvellous, colourful pageant. Later, the Queen went walkabout, meeting the crowds around the Square Tower Museum, where she opened a new exhibition. Then it was a royal send-off for the Bicentennial's replica fleet. 11 square-rigged sailing ships off to Botany Bay, just as they did 200 years ago on May the 13th, 1787, carrying 700 convicts to an unknown land. And final stop for the Queen has been on the Isle of Wight, and another wonderful welcome for her there. And watching the celebrations with me here today and broadcasting live to Australia is Keith Geary. Keith, do you know you're sitting on the very chair that Prince Philip sat on?
Oh, you could have left a bit of warmth here because it's absolutely freezing now. There you go. It's very cold.
What's it meant to Australia and Australians today?
Well, I think they've realised that the 700 of them were going for a sunshine cruise to get away from this weather. I think it's been very, very important in that there's a distinct link. I mean, years ago, people used to deny that their rallies were crims. You see, they go,
rallies?
No, didn't know anybody that did that sort of thing. Now, it's not so much fashionable, but people are acknowledging where they came from and actively seeking out the link back.
Let's go back to the royal day here in Portsmouth today. And Chris Peacock has been following the Queen's progress, which began here in the city's Guildhall Square on this chair a few hours ago.
The royal motorcade carrying the Queen and Prince Philip arrived through the ceremonial arch and made its way to the foot of Guildhall steps. It was the beginning of a busy programme for the Queen and Prince Philip that would keep them in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight for 6 hours. Brilliant sunshine shone on the royal couple as they arrived. The Queen alighted from her car to be greeted by the Lord Mayor of Portsmouth. He was only made mayor yesterday, so a big day for him. 4,000 were standing in Guildhall Square as the keys of the ancient fortress of Portsmouth were presented to the Queen by Lieutenant Colonel Yeoman, Commanding Officer of the Royal Court of Transport. A fanfare signalled the release of 4,000 balloons by 2,000 schoolchildren to mark the sailing of the first settlers from Portsmouth to Australia. The party had begun. It was a gesture of goodwill and good wishes for a happy birthday from the city of Portsmouth to the people of Australia. And then a moment of pure theatre with the arrival in Guildhall Square of a royal mail coach drawn by 4 Hungarian greys. It had come to pick up a personal message from the Queen for the Governor-General of New South Wales in Australia. The coach, a splendid piece of work in black and scarlet livery and gleaming upholstery, was modelled on the first ever mail coach to run between Bristol and London in 1784. The driver there, John Parker. The postman who'd come to receive the Queen's message was one Robbie Fondon. And he'd been chosen as a result of a straw poll in Portsmouth's sorting office. He was wearing a replica uniform worn by a London letter carrier in 1793. He made what might have seemed like the longest walk of his life to the dais, where the Queen presented him with a message of good wishes. We don't know what's inside it, but we understand it says, "Happy birthday Australia" next year, and that letter will be dispatched aboard the sail training ship Young Endeavour, which will leave Portsmouth later in the year bound for Australia. And then came one of the most sensitive and touching moments of the morning, with a performance of music and dance by Australian Aborigines. These are the Barraroga Mimi dancers. They come from one of the most remote areas of outback Australia in the Northern Territory. They're following in the footsteps of a civilization that dates back 40,000 years. And their culture has its source in what they call the Dreamtime, based on a religion of spirits from whom they claim they owe their very existence. They make their music from clapsticks and a didgeridoo. And the dance expresses moments from their lifestyle, stories from their history. The Queen has met them before when she was on royal tour in Australia, in Darwin. But today, these men made an extraordinary crossing, a culture divide in their flight from Australia to Portsmouth. Until they left Sydney, they'd never seen a city or town, Western clothes, shoes, all very strange to them. But they'd come in friendship to honour their Queen, whom they call the boss woman. Queen Victoria there looked on as one of their members then presented the Queen with a special tribal stick. A gift direct from the Mimi spirits, wishing Her Majesty many blessings and much peace. A gesture reflecting all that was best about the day, with the healing of old wounds and the coming together of two nations in friendship. Warm applause there from the people of Portsmouth. And then the first of several gifts of the day. When the replica fleet sails from the Mother Bank, many gifts will be stowed aboard to mark the voyage. One of them is a sailing gig, built by John Perry from Southsea. It represented the completion of 7 months' work and recreates a little piece of Australia's history. And then time to hear from an Australian band. The City of Sydney Bicentennial Band, looking very different to our own Royal Marines, in light blue tunics, feathered hats, gold sashes, and jaunty hats with feathers in them, very Australian. And what did they play? Why, Waltzing Matilda, of course. Just to show how informal the Australians are about these things, do you see the placard there? Good day, Liz. Well, it was good day from the people of Australia, as the band from the Bicentennial of Sydney in Australia played for the Queen.
Well, with me now is a young man who took part in that pageant. He's Nicholas Hibbert, and he was in the Royal Mail coach that we've just been seeing. And he and his family are also descendants of one of the original convicts, John Small. First of all, Nicholas, how did you get a place in the Royal Mail coach?
There was a competition in the news to win a ride in the Royal Mail coach. You had to write in 20 words why you'd like to ride in it.
Gosh, and what did you say?
That I was a direct descendant of the Small family who are convicts.
Well, they couldn't fail but let you on, could they? Now, you're 7th generation. Your mum behind is Anne Hibbert.
Yes.
You're 6th generation. Did you see the Queen today?
Yes, we saw the Queen and Prince Philip.
Did you speak to
close.
them?
It was a good morning from Prince Philip.
You had a very exciting day, though.
It was lovely, it was fantastic.
And
yes.
next to you is your father, who's a 5th generation, and you're Lieutenant Commander McClure. Now, what do you know about John Small, your famous descendant, antecedent?
I'm a direct descendant through his eldest daughter, Rebecca.
And why was he sent to Australia? What dastardly crime did he committed?
Well, he did a little highway robbery with 3 others, stealing a gentleman's watch and 5 shillings.
Gosh, well, as Keith was saying earlier, it is very trendy to have a criminal in your family now, isn't it? Can I introduce you? This is Greg Small, who's another direct descendant of John Small. How far removed from you or him? Him or you?
I'm 6th generation Small, and there's 16,000 more members of the family in Australia. We have a gathering each year, every 12 months at Top Ride in Australia, and that's where all the family members get together and few drinks.
And
all
you've
that sort of
come
thing.
to England and you found some more British family. I'll leave you to get on with it. By the way, the clock chiming there was 6:30, so you know that we're live. And one of the other big attractions here in Portsmouth over the next few months is a brand new exhibition. It depicts the wretched conditions of those first convicts before and during the 8-month voyage to Australia 200 years ago. It's in the city's Square Tower Museum, and the Queen saw it for herself earlier this afternoon, and then she went for a walkabout.
The Queen emerged from the Square Tower, where she'd viewed the First Fleet exhibition, to be greeted by a little boy with a bunch of flowers. Quite a moment for 4-year-old Jethro Hocking, as he hitched up his new trousers and looked very confident. Prince Philip exchanged a word with the crowd, and the Queen prepared to lay her flowers at the foot of the Falklands War Memorial. It was, of course, from Portsmouth in April 1982 that the task force set out for the South Atlantic. And the names of those who gave their lives are recorded in a tablet of stone in the harbour wall. The mood of the day began to relax then, as the Queen continued her walk around the Sallyport and was invited by the chairman of the British Australia Bicentennial Committee to unveil a plaque commemorating the day. The inscription records that the First Fleet arrived in Sydney Cove from Portsmouth on January the 26th, 1788. And then a gift of a gold medallion to commemorate the day. After which came what is very often the best bit of any royal visit, the walkabout. This was the time when the people of Portsmouth had an opportunity to say hello. It's a well-tried and tested routine, this, as the Queen received masses of flowers. Out came that famous smile as she said, "Pleased to see you," to the people of Portsmouth. Coincidentally, as this is an Australian day, it is worth remembering that the walkabout was first tried in New Zealand and Australia during royal tours in the late 60s. It was so successful that it's now regarded as an essential part of any royal day. It brings the Queen closer to the people and gives her the chance to meet and talk with them. The Queen had chosen a coat of sapphire blue with a matching hat, a happy choice for the day, complementing the home of the Royal Navy. And then up stepped 3 young girls who are the daughters of Dr. Jonathan King, the leader of the replica fleet. And they presented her with a posy of flowers which intrigued the Queen because some of the blooms had come from Australia. Dr. King's children very confident as they set out to explain what the blooms were. This was a happy time, and the royal visitors would almost certainly have liked to stay longer. But as the Queen knows, every royal visit is timed to the minute, and the royal car awaited for the next stopover of the day. A glass-topped car had thoughtfully been provided to afford as many people as possible the chance of meeting the Queen and Prince Philip.
And among the crowd outside the Square Tower there we saw lots of children, were these 3. Now, what's your name?
Rebecca.
Rebecca. Did Prince Philip speak to you?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
Well, he asked us first of all which school we were from and whether we were actually waiting for transportation to Australia.
Charming. He thought you looked like a convict. And what about you? What's your name?
Arabella.
Arabella. What did Prince Philip speak to you?
Yes, he said, do you think your teachers would actually like you to go to Australia? And I thought that was very nice of him.
What did you say? Yes.
I said, I just laughed.
And what about you? What's your name?
Geeta.
And what did Prince Philip say to you?
He asked how we were chosen and whether we were the best good-looking or the keenest. But someone answered that we were the best at history, so we got
Because
chosen.
what you'd actually done, of course, was do a lot of research into the convicts. What did you find out that was most exciting, Rebecca?
Well, actually, the way they were transported, they were all chained down below the decks, and there were so many of them on one ship. It was, well, quite barbaric, really, the way they were transported across.
Yes, very frightening, wasn't it?
Yes.
So you've got a real sense of history today and saw the Queen. Well, we're going to take a break now. After the break, the sailing of the fleet and the Queen on the Isle of Wight.